Das ist no.
Bist du sicher wegen dem?
Jo, jetzt nicht so.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Moped Outlaws. I'm Mark.
And I'm Greg. Thanks for joining us for another special episode.
Yeah, special, very special. You could say elite even.
Elite. That's right. You know, Mark, sometimes life hands you an offer that is just too good to refuse.
Exactly. Which is why today we are proud, truly honored to introduce our new sponsor.
Adrenochrome Cola.
That's right. Adrenochrome Cola. Refreshingly elite.
Because nothing says hydration like baby fluid.
Greg.
Right. Sorry. Professional.
Look, when we were first approached by, we thought this was some kind of elaborate prank.
Yeah, we laughed and made jokes. We even drank a whole sample of bottle on air last month.
Now here we are, partners, ambassadors, chosen.
You ever wonder why, Mark, that payment came so quickly?
Every day.
There's things they just don't tell you when you sign up for this level of success.
Yeah. Like how your dreams start talking back to you.
Yeah, or how your phone rings even though you've turned it off and powered it down.
That's weird. And the visits at 3:30 a.m. when they knock on open your door.
Yeah, that.
So, before we get into today's other topics, we're thrilled to play you the first ever ad for Adrenochrome Cola.
We're required to.
Yeah, required. Remember, it's not just a drink, it's a way of life.
Adrenochrome Cola, the elite refreshment. Introducing Adrenochrome Cola, the exclusive refreshment for the discerning elite. A tantalizing taste shrouded in mystery, now within your grasp. Crafted for those who walk in the shadows of power, Adrenochrome Cola invigorates your senses, offering a sip of the extraordinary. A drink not just for any occasion, but for the occasion. Dare to indulge in the beverage of the Illuminati. Unleash the elite within you. Adrenochrome Cola, because why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Adrenochrome Cola. Refreshingly elite.
That was the ad.
Yeah, and this is where in the script we smile.
I don't think we can leave anymore, Greg.
I think they're listening right now, Mark.
Play it cool. Play it cool. Smile for the camera.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about the real history of the world's elite families.
Yes, assuming we're still here.
Stay tuned if you can.
What a day.
That was fun.
Yeah.
All right. On with the show.
This is my first time having caffeine in 2025.
Really?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
I feel great.
Yeah. There's my caffeine.
I know, that's such a big glass. Like I can't even drink the rest of my cup. I'm like, this is too much. And today we're back to the original Moped Outlaws ride. We don't have a guest. We were just so enthused to come back together and actually have a discussion ourselves after what we went through with signing up.
For Adrenochrome Cola, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it. Those of you who listen have heard about it quite a bit. And
for a year.
So now that you've seen where they're coming from and what we agreed to in our sponsorship agreement, you can kind of get a sense of the gravity of the whole situation. And it warranted Greg and I putting our full attention on this moment, both for ourselves and for you, and letting you in the usual transparent way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how you doing, Mark?
I'm a little shaken, honestly, like seeing behind the veil. Once you're in, I guess you can't get out, and it feels safer in here, but it also doesn't feel safe.
Hey, did you ever, when you were growing up, Babes in Toyland, was that in your wheelhouse as a kid?
It's the title I have a memory of, but I don't really remember much about the actual content.
I think it was a Disney musical, like old school. But I remember there's this song, The Force of No Return. Once you stumble in, once you tumble in, you cannot get out.
Choices have consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Fuck
Yeah.
consequences.
Well, karma is what it is. It comes, you do your thing, and it happens.
Yeah.
Like you kind of got a raw deal on that whole rock star thing. Like, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that is real. Well, that's the beauty of the karmic story is, in essence, selling your soul to the dark side is you get the raw end of the deal every time. Look at the Darth Vader story.
Right. Which I'm very familiar with.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
It's interesting when we think about Star Wars. I mean, there's a lot going on, especially right now. Andor season 2, which I watched all the episodes for. I'm really a Star Wars geek. I'm sure you probably haven't watched any of it, right? Not even season 1. You're missing out. It's a good story. Someone on X said Andor is like Star Wars trying to do HBO, and I'm like, is that a problem?
Yeah.
Is it?
No, it isn't. But that's where I fell off, is when I got confused about what Star Wars story was what. Like right about when they came out with Han Solo backstory, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right on top of a Star Wars
movie
continuation. Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? When?
You gave up the ghost at that point. You gave up on the Force.
Yeah, I gave up on the Force.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with what is created. Like Disney, like talk about yeah, exactly. Like, you look at every entertainment leader, Pixar, Star Wars, Disney itself.
I think back in the George Lucas days, there was freedom from the influence of others, we'll say. Individual choice ruled the day there, for better or for worse, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of that and super excited about that. And then also my health has improved quite a bit. We don't talk a lot about that on the air, but like I said, I have my first cup of coffee today and I'm so happy about that. And I also have mixed feelings about that. And I think mixed feeling is kind of the theme for the day.
Yeah. So what's the mixed feelings about it?
Once you drink the thing, there's no going back.
There
And I'm
is
not
no-
just talking about coffee.
I know, but you could just like go like, you know what? I'm gonna do like
You
this.
got to ride the ride. Like when you're going downhill on a moped and the brakes are hot, you kind of just got to go ride the ride.
Just go to the end. Yeah. But that's the thing. You could change your mind with coffee. You could be like, you know what? I did great for X amount of months without coffee, and I'm going to just continue without it.
Oh, I don't mean I'm going to have it tomorrow. But being like 90 days of completely dietary restriction, like we're talking bone broth and tofu, and then like the occasional banana, like that's pretty narrow. And in some ways it was really helpful. My body really, really, really benefited. But now it's like, oh, the candy store's open if I want to go in. Right. And so far the sugar part I've been keeping, I'm off the sugar still, and I tend to stay that way, and also off the like carbohydrates and flour stuff. But you know what? People didn't tune in to hear about what I eat. Honestly,
They might have, because like the carb thing is such a real addiction. Last night, like I was like craving bagels and bread. I was like, God, I could eat 3 bagels right now, probably.
yeah. What were you smoking?
Nothing. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
I smoke cigars.
Mm.
Yeah, but it did have me thinking about that. You and I have spoken about emotional eating, and it just seemed like it was such a strong pull I had to just have another bagel and carbs. And I was like, fuck, it just seems so real. Like this is what the body wants. There's no way my body really wants 3 bagels right now.
Yeah. What I heard is that that's actually the beings that live in your digestive tract that are saying it. That's like, again, like Star Wars with midichlorians in the Force. The bacteria in your gut are what are craving the thing, not your actual body. It's like the things that feed off of gluten and off of starches. Those bacteria, once they start to realize, oh my God, the supply is low, like any other addict, they start coming at you through the bloodstream with cravings. And
So is that good bacteria or bad bacteria?
I don't think the good bad dialectic is necessarily the best way to look at it, because carbohydrates ultimately get turned into sugar, and then sugar is necessary for your brain to operate. You need glucose to be able to think properly. So there's some kind of internal message going on. What I know is with my metabolism at my age, and then the ways that carbs, specifically starches, built up certain bacterial things in my own body that did not make me feel good, nor did I smell good. So there's this aspect of not wanting to be a host for certain kinds of bacteria. And when I went through this last 4 months was a total reset of my biome. And so now my friends, the probiotics, saved my life, but literally.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, we got a good thing going here. I'm going to continue to romance you, babe. Like,
so are there some conscious things, like some conscious choices you want to keep in your regime gained from the past 4 months?
oh, for sure. Like, at least twice a week, I want to have homemade bone broth and tofu for breakfast, which was weird. Like, my go-to thing would be to go to the diner and have eggs, potatoes, and toast, right? The whole mama's thing. But now I've completely shifted. Now I'm a 62-year-old guy who eats oatmeal and bone broth for breakfast. And I think that's really good. And because I've been, I had some extreme weight loss in January and February. And then now that I'm healthier, it's been 1 to 2 pounds a week. And I'm like, okay, it's a long road to where I need to get to at that rate, but it's the right road. It's like a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. So
are you back to an exercise, a daily exercise?
Hiking.
Thing?
That's the biggest thing, hiking.
No cold plunges?
Haven't started that, but Huberman just did a really interesting podcast about those. And so there's some new information. Like, of course, there's serotonin and things that are changed when you do the cold plunge. But the actual thing that he said the research showed was that it's the mental barrier that you force yourself getting over. So when you get in, it's cold, and at first you get the shivers or whatever, and then there's this 60 to 2 minutes thing where you're like, I gotta get out. And so what you do when you overcome that is you create a kind of mental framework and a patterning resistance that teaches you that when the brain's doing that reactive thing, that you actually have more influence over not complying with it, which translates interestingly to food too, because when you're, I want that second bagel, or you see that piece of cake, which I went to this event last night and they had all kinds of desserts, and I was like, nope. So, when you build the ability to act with impulse control, it's a whole different way of navigating. And impulse control in a society where we are constantly bombarded with the idea of being positively triggered to put our attention here on social media or on TV shows like Star Wars, everything like that, then having impulse control, being the decider instead of following the carrot, that's a powerful way of being. Yeah. And between me and the caffeine, I'm excited about that new way.
An extra heightened excitement. Yeah, I was listening to David Blaine. Am I remembering his name correctly?
That sounds familiar.
David. Anyway, he was talking about his learning to hold his breath for like up to 15 minutes. And he said there's a big part of the learning is the psychological trigger. Like you need a breath. And once you realize that's just a psychological thing, you don't really need that breath, then it was a real breakthrough for him.
Yeah, the autonomic nervous system and the rational nervous system they conspire together to create the thought, I need a breath. And the truth is you do. Your CO2 levels are rising. There's a lot of things, but because will, in most people, if they practice, is stronger than the autonomic nervous system, there's ways to practice to get to the point where you can be the decider instead of the involuntary nervous system. And this helps with premature ejaculation.
That's what I was just thinking of, is that would be real in sex too. Because I think so many of us have this feeling. It's like, I gotta act on this feeling. It is, the universe is telling me, and to have mastery in that realm of, okay, yeah, it's a very strong feeling, but not appropriate in this moment.
Right. Yeah. It's actually really cool to realize that you can drive the ship. You can drive the body instead of the body driving you. Right. And I know a lot of addicts out there, that feels like a real challenge for them. But if you, like the David Gogginses of the world, look at those folks and go, if you only knew.
Right. Right.
And for those of you who don't know who David Goggins is, he's the only human I know of that's actually been able to pass the special forces tests in all 4 branches of the military. He's a Ranger, a Navy SEAL, an elite pilot, all of them.
No, I don't think so.
He can't fly, but he's did their survival stuff.
Because I thought his whole thing was he did BUDS 3 times.
We did that, and then he went on after BUDS, and he got through BUDS. He went on to do the Ranger one too.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and when he was in combat, he was serving under the Rangers. So it's fascinating to find out what if there's horrendous family trauma that causes you to be an overachiever, that you can take that traumatic response of being an overachiever so far that you can write books and be a
but here's what I think. I was talking to a friend yesterday who's studying empathy, and we were talking about that element of the parents. And I think at a certain point, and I believe from past conversations, you're in full agreement, at a certain point in one's life, you really let go of I am this way because of my parents. You take full responsibility for who you are. And I believe David long ago passed that element. Like he leans into going hard. That's it is a very personal choice. I think plenty of people have trauma in their life as young people and would not even approach close to the physical choices he's chosen in his life.
Yeah, I don't want to argue with you, but I think there's some nuance to what
What
you're saying.
I think we're in agreement. I think that
Actually, no, I think that there is a thing that I would call etched neurology, which remains an influence throughout your whole life that's a result of trauma. And then what I've seen is that people learn to work with recognition of the trigger and then intercede, but the trigger never goes away.
so I believe the trigger could go away.
I'd like to believe that.
Okay, go ahead.
Next time you get mad, or next time I get mad at you, we'll see.
Shall we practice now?
I hope not.
I can't think of anything that would trigger you.
Oh, believe me, you will.
Oh dear, what can the matter?
Let's change the subject now.
Okay.
So you've been doing some movie production. You did something last year, and then are you about to do another film?
It's on the precipice, but I give it a 50-50 chance of really happening. But
you really dove into the idea of wanting to be more involved with producing films. Like there's something about it, having been, studying stuff in college, like acting and directing and play recently in 2024. You're like more into the theater and the idea of producing drama, aren't you?
More creative. Yeah, I want to be even more so. I think I think the producing element just was given to me, and I accepted that opportunity, and it's been wonderful. And I know you're talking with mutual acquaintance of ours, a friend of mine, about his new screenplay. And so maybe more will come in that realm. But I really like him listening to this what's his name? Rodriguez. Anyway.
David Rodriguez, I think. No,
the gentleman who did the Spy Kids. And
yeah, he deserves better from us that we should remember his name.
Well, I'm really enthralled by the podcast episode with him and Joe Rogan, and it really is encouraging me to be more creative, be the person I want to be, live the life I want to live. And I would say even with the inner challenges I have, like just this morning, something came up and I was like triggered and a little despondent is the word that comes to mind. Like, wait, okay. Not let that, kind of like we were talking about earlier with food and choices, not let that take over my day.
Yeah. Yeah. And Robert Rodriguez is the name for those of us who are waiting for us to figure it out, who knew. And if you'd like, you can click away right now from watching us and go over to Joe Rogan and listen to Robert Rodriguez. But I suggest you don't, because you will miss out on everything else that we have planned for today. And Lord knows there will be some surprises to both Greg and I as a result.
Hey, speaking of Lord, she just came out with a new single today.
Is that Lorde?
Yeah.
Or is it Lourde?
Oh, God damn it. Now we're going back to Google.
Not me. I already did my time with Google.
All right. It's Lorde.
What's the name of the single?
The single or the signal? The signal.
You caught on to my verbal acuity there.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm mad about it.
It's called
Is that with 2 M's or 3?
What was that?
What was that?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we'd love to play a snippet of it for you, but YouTube will kick us off, so we're not gonna. Yeah. One day, if you guys keep sharing and keep subscribing, we'll have the resources to buy an ASCAP and BMI license for this show so that we can play royalty-based things and support these musicians with, half a cent for the Moped Outlaws episode that they appear on. I'd gladly cut a few pennies in half and mail them to Lord today if we could, but we can't.
We could play 10 seconds of the song because we're talking about it, so it would fall into that realm of a critical example.
Well, as you've been watching our growth mechanics, do you want to risk it? I don't want to risk it. This is an important episode. Let's not do it.
No, it
yeah.
isn't.
No, don't do it.
Okay.
I know that if I say that, he'll do it, but I don't actually want him to do it. It's not reverse psychology, and it's not reverse psychology.
It's just not reverse psychology. It's
doo-dah. Am I more fun on caffeine?
Yeah.
Well,
let's ask your partner.
She doesn't know.
She will soon.
I don't know. She did listen to one episode. Maybe she'll listen to this.
Did she really?
Yeah.
How long ago?
A month ago.
Oh, wow.
When we had, actually, I've forgotten already.
Okay.
Sorry. I haven't been eating carbs.
Probably that episode with Tomas, I'm guessing.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we can talk about it offline since my brain isn't providing the answers right now. Yeah. So you're also in acting classes as well?
Yeah. And we have a little performance I signed up for coming up, and I forget what kind of theater it's called, but it's like you all get together and you create the piece that's going to be performed.
Ensemble theater?
Yeah, there's a specific name for this type of theater.
Is that going to be on the test?
I hope not, because God, I've been really behind on this semester. So a bunch of shit came up. Like I was thinking of changing my living circumstances, and that came up, and that kind of pulled the lid off a bunch of stuff that we've all been processing in this home that I live in, the three of us. And it was good. I think it was healthy. And hopefully we're all going to be on this place of change. And it's so funny to me that how easy it is to still think like others are the problem and I'm not part of the problem. It just is such a pervasive.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I think that you being a problem is something we overlook a lot. I'm just kidding. The point you made was actually really good, because most of us, when we take that kind of point of view and we think about it and we really examine like what we're placing blame on and what we're pushing off, the thing we want to avoid about our own behavior, it really comes down to some kind of thing where you're involved, Greg.
Right.
And
I know.
That joke doesn't work twice, I guess.
No, it does. Like I recommend everyone just open their closet door and there I'll be.
Especially now.
Yeah. Yep.
Now that we have this new sponsors.
I'm not part of the problem. I'm the problem.
No, but I think it's important to sort of be willing to examine what we have, because sometimes we have to let go of what we have in order to have the thing we want, the new thing we want. And attachment is a really tricky thing for people, myself included.
Yeah. And for what I've noticed is like, because my son it's Candy, me, and my son Jonah that live here. And I have this idea, like I'm a conscious parent and I'm open and cool, And when Jonah points out like, hey, Dad, this is part of the problem, and I get like, yeah, I can feel in me like, ah! And it's like so funny to me to have this idea of who I am and this reality. And when they don't go together, I get upset.
I've heard that children are our greatest teachers.
They're the best. Yeah. and again, like I have this lofty thought, like I know intuitively my children are going to be better than I am, even just from a scientific standpoint, evolutionary process, you know. The generations coming are always an improvement upon the generations that have been.
That's part of the miracle.
Right. And yet I still have this gut thing that happens. It's not all the time, but enough where I don't like it, where Jonah says something, I'm like, yeah.
So did it help you get a breakthrough when he said that?
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's as far down the rabbit hole we need to go about our personal lives in this realm. But I think it's a great thing for people to contemplate. Like, take a deep breath. Be in the question of how are you impacting the conflict you're in at this moment? What are the things that you're doing to contribute to the disconnection? And everybody's actually looking for freedom in the conflict. No one really wants to, have things be unsettled and fearful and angry. And, we all generally speaking, except for narcissists and sadomasochists, that they want, peace in their personal relationships. And like, I love where I live and I love my partner. And there are times when I think about, what would it be like to live in Mexico in my own little cheap apartment somewhere, And when I actually allow myself to feel into that, I get really clear, I like being in a community. I like all my friends. I like all these things that I'm doing. And what I'm really yearning for is a way for me to expand how I do things differently. It's not circumstances. What can I do? Yesterday, and I've been kind of wanting to talk about this, I got invited to an event at the Saratoga Winery from a guy named Human. And you might know Human from our meeting with him, but also as a radio personality. And he and I are part of this group called Metal. And so we got a bunch of metal guys together that all live in the Bay Area. And I had to drive an hour and a half. A couple guys had to drive 3 hours. One guy flew in from Chicago.
Wow.
So that 10 of us could all be together. And we went to this amazing conference. And the conference it was outdoors at this beautiful setting at the top of this hill. And it was all these innovative tech things and personal things. And one of the things that was really interesting to me was there was a company that had come up with a kind of foam lining that was biodegradable, that was made from potato starch, but it was firm, like the stuff you get your iPads and stuff in. But after 100 days of being in the dirt, it completely disintegrates into soil. And there was a woman there who her branding was hot girls like tools. And so she had this tool kit that was like a hammer, a wrench, a wire cutter, a tape measure, a level, and it was all pink handled. And which is, I guess, kind of sexist ultimately, but she was the one doing it, so I didn't feel bad. And it was cool to see her. And that was mixed in with
Isn't that sexist in itself? Like you're saying, if a man created pink-handled tools, then it'd be sexist?
Are you saying my misogyny is showing?
I'm saying your misogyny is showing.
And there's nothing, zipping up won't help. Anyway, it was really cool to see her because she's still in graduate school and she's already launching stuff. And I bought a set of tools.
Did you really?
Yeah. And so I was carrying around this really cool pink box that said hot women like tools. And I was like, I felt a little weird about that, but there it was. And so people were coming up to me like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, it's this woman's booth over here. And there were, there was an underground LiDAR search company that would find water or power lines or, and then NASA was there with different things. They had a power battery that had been up on the space station that was super lightweight and delivered a certain amount of power, but now you could buy one and it was super light and it was easiar to carry around than
how much was it?
I didn't get that far. Okay. There were a bunch of things that were beyond me, like the $300,000 Porsche the $75,000 speedboat,
Was the $300,000 Porsche like all electric or something crazy?
I didn't get into it. I sort of saw it, and I saw the price tag, and it was not electric because it said 19 mpg on it. So no.
All right.
But there's these portals that I've seen previously that are big boxes, human size, and then a person can get in the 3D camera and then they appear right at the other end of the portal. Well, someone had built one that was the place you appear, but it was only 3 feet tall and like a foot wide or so. And it was sort of like the action figure version of you showing up, right? And that was kind of cool.
Reminds me of Willy Wonka when the little kid goes through the TV.
Yep, that's kind of like it. It's kind of like it. And there were these amazing, amazing chefs and all these desserts. And of course, we talk about how I didn't have those yet either. But one of the things that's cool about Human is he's a real social connector. Yeah, and so he would bring people up to the group of metal guys because we were all standing around talking and walking around, and we got to meet all these incredible people, like a woman who writes these articles for various famous magazines. And one of my favorite conversations was from a woman named Flora, and she had just finished the sale of her winery after she went to Wharton and she got her MBA, and then she started a winery, and she completed the process of launching the whole winery, buying all the land, and she just had her first entrepreneurial exit. So she sold it for millions of dollars, and she was kind of like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now. I'm doing a boutique wine. And I'm like, cool. And I said to her, hey, you know what? We don't have a podcast guest. Would you want to be on the Moped Outlaws podcast with us? And she said, that sounds really fun, but I'm booked tomorrow. So she wasn't able to make the taping today. She even texted me this morning. She says, I couldn't move my schedule around, but I do want to be on the show. So we'll get Flora on the show, and you guys will get to meet her.
That's so brilliant that her name's Flora and she just did a winery.
Right. And she sent me a link to her current offering, and I'll tell you what it is right now as soon as I look it up on my phone. But it basically, I looked at the bottles, and it was $265 for a bottle of wine. So she's still got some wine production, very, very boutique. The name of the wine company is Plinth Wine. So go check it out. And,
PLI or PLY?
PLINTH. Her name is Flora Chang, and so we're going to be getting her on the podcast.
Very cool. We should get Human on.
Yeah, we should have him on if he'll come. He's doing some interesting things, including he is getting murals hung.
Yeah.
That are really amazing, and we'll get him on here to talk about that if he will.
That'd be awesome. About Persian women.
Yeah, so season 5 is shaping up to be even more elite and refreshing.
Yeah, and our team is growing, and
we have created what we hope will be a long-term partnership with Eileen, and Eileen is helping us with outreach and with getting some of the marketing stuff done on the Moped Outlaws podcast. And things are coming in.
How close do you think you are to being seriously in action with your film? Like, I know you have more than one, but it seems like there's one that's really at the forefront of being in production.
Yeah, The Grandmother War I'm on my 4th, comb through on the script, really refining the language and any of the descriptive action. And I got some coaching last week from someone who's done a bunch of screenplays, but also has a program that they do for screenwriting. And that was helpful. I've got clarity that I need to partner with people. Like, I'm at this stage now where I can't really move it forward on my own. And so one of the things I need to do is have someone who knows how to take a script and kind of come up with a basic budget for it, look at that. And maybe our mutual friend can help me with that, after I've looked at his script. We'll see. Let's see, what else? Well, it's part of this thing called film.io. And since I've been sick, I've really neglected that part of it. But if you want to go to film.io, you can be part of a whole revolutionary way of green lighting movies. That's really exciting. And it'd be fun for people to just join that and check it out. So Grandmother War it's really like, even Riot going through the fourth time now, there's not a lot to fix. So where I'd like to go now is whoever I get to executive produce and whoever I partner with, I'm already sure that they're going to go, well, we want to fix some of this script. Like, we want to change some of this, because that's part of the collaborative process. And where I'm at is I'm super open to that, as long as the heart of the film stays intact. And the heart of the film is really about the multidimensionality of each character, and how good people can do bad things and bad people can make the right decision and turn events positive and things like that. And all of the challenges that we face. I'll give you one of the sort of insights. One of the things that's in the film is they galvanize something called the Army of the Homeless, where we go around and we get people who are houseless involved, not in the filmmaking process, but in the characters in the film go around and they rally these people and they give them an opportunity to get what they need and participate.
They give them machetes.
Yeah, no, it's a non-violent protest.
Or it's called Grandmother Wars, and it's non-violent.
Well, the grandmother side is the grandmothers and the youth get together and they come up with this new way of doing social activism. And one of the things that they do is they enroll help from these other contingencies, the student loan folks, the houseless folks, and even some what you might call police state types get involved when they figure out what's really going on behind the scenes. And so it's an action drama.
Yeah. Robert Rodriguez, who we were talking about earlier, he might be worth approaching and just seeing if you could get his ear for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
He seems to be the type of guy who's open to pitching and working with people. And the other thing that I totally forgot is I totally forgot it, so I don't have it. What was we talking about? It just left me. Anyway.
Well, welcome back to Greg's Brain, and if you remember, let us know. There's a new Ryan Coogler film called Sinners that I want.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah. So that looks really good. And at first, I thought, a vampire movie? That's not really my cup of tea. But then you find out that it's way, way beyond that. It's a whole allegory.
Yeah. And set during the Jim Crow era. And he's just made great films. So I can't imagine. And, part of what Robert Rodriguez was talking about in this podcast with Joe Rogan is a miss may be like a miss, but he was talking about 4 rooms, the hotel room he did, 4 direct, and it bombed. But he named 3 films that came out of his experience with that blew doors. And he's like, you just never know. And he talked a lot about commit to a body of work, not one thing, commit to a body of work. And then what he learned from Steven Spielberg is never blink. Because he was like, at the beginning of his career, he hooked up with Steven, and Steven was just getting shit for all sorts of things. He's like, how do you, deal with that criticism? And Steven's response was, don't blink.
Yeah, I love that. Makes total sense. And I like the legacy of work, the idea of tying things together, have a body of work. And you mentioned with Grandmother War that I have 2 other films that I want to make. And I've been thinking about ways that there's these little character or plot intersections between them, but not super overt. Like, they're just hints. It's not like a trilogy or anything like that. Right. But, what I found is, because the work is inspired by my father's fiction writing, and then so the third film that I want to do is all my creation, and then the first 2 are collabs with my dad. And one was the Grandmother War was a screenplay that he wrote, and then I've rewritten several times and refined. And then the next one is based on a short story he wrote called Counting Coup. And then the third one is untitled as yet. But the main character is a 17 going on 18-year-old coder named Marley, who goes to Berkeley High School and lives in the hills of Berkeley. And one day he unleashes an app that makes it impossible for the NSA or any of the intelligence agencies to eavesdrop on any of the communications. And he sort of just lets it out on social media, like at night. And then when he wakes up in the morning, all hell's breaking loose. And he skateboards to school down the hill from the Berkeley Hills. And on the way, he like almost gets run over by a mysterious black car. When he gets to school, he kind of peeks around the corner on his way to homeroom, and he notices there's two suits hanging outside his homeroom. So he splits, and that starts the chase part of the movie. And so the first and second act are mostly about a kind of a chase caper kind of thing. And what happens is he becomes people become aware that they're hunting him on social media. And so he starts to make allies through social media that help him duck out just in time. Right. And the quest is he's on his way to meet his crazy uncle, who his dad doesn't like, who's taken over one of the old parts of the Air Force in places in Denver, like the Denver, the hardened Air Force facilities. Yeah. They moved those under the Denver airport, in case you guys didn't know that. So the ones that they built in the 50s and 60s are kind of abandoned. Like they don't have anything in there. So his crazy uncle gets a hold of one of those and builds a supercomputer in there. And so he's trying to get there to get safe from all the forces that want the keys so that they can destroy privacy again. So that ties back through this whole sort of the themes of the other two films, because we're all struggling not to be consumed by the man, consumed by,
are we all struggling?
The elite? Well, some of the elite aren't.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. I wonder how many military buildings, etc., are just abandoned. Like up on Mount Tam, that West Peak has been abandoned forever.
And it's really hardened. Like if you went up there and with a little bit of effort and didn't get caught when you were first, creating camp, it'd be hard to get you out of there.
Right. Yeah. And I don't even know if it's really policed at all now.
Yeah. I mean, and given a little bit of cash and some more lifespan, I'd love to make a movie out of Mike Healy's song Militia Girl.
I don't know that song.
Oh, it's a great one. Next time you see him, have him go over it for you.
I wonder if he's got it online.
It's kind of campy. It'd be sort of like Repo Man meets Rambo. With a girl as the main protagonist.
I think I've heard it. I must have heard it before, but
yeah.
Somehow, I know what it was. There's a documentary about Sweetwater that's on YouTube. That's pretty cool, about it's going into the real early days with Jeannie. And I was thinking of you guys, the Cool Cat Crusaders, Commander Casual and Cool Cat Crusaders. And you guys really did have a wave you were starting to create, and then the band imploded.
Well, people moved away. So there's no video for Militia Girl.
Okay.
But it is on SoundCloud.
Okay.
So
you know what? We'll drop a link in this episode.
Yeah, it's Mike Stecker on bass, Pat Mundy on drums, Michael Healy on guitar, and it was recorded at expression.edu.
Yeah, they were doing that.
I'm going to check it out when we're off air, just for the fun of it.
Okay.
So, I kind of like getting together with you once in a while and just kicking it back and forth. Did you remember that thing, or what's up?
I did remember that thing. Kind of minor. What's more important is I think our 200th episode is coming up. Like, do you have any ideas of what we're going to do?
This might be it.
Ooh, are we on our 200th episode now?
Right. Like, what a great way to drop in, right?
All right. I like that.
200s.
I like that.
We didn't think about it in advance, but that's how some great ideas come into fruition, which means it's going to be a while.
Gives time for studio work.
Yeah. bringing on Eileen, bringing on our sponsor, Adrenochrome Cola, things are growing. We are on the slow, steady path to the most geriatric podcast you can imagine.
You know what it was I was trying to remember earlier? I just learned this week that fucking Harvard University is tax exempt. They don't have to pay any taxes.
Yeah, a fair amount of institutions are. And the Trump administration is doing their best to stop that because they had the audacity to stand up to him. And, you know, they've been around 400 years, which is about 150 years longer than the country has. So, you know, despite the fact that they're getting billions of tax dollars from us, I want them to win.
Really? 'Cause I'm not so sure about that.
Well, that's what...
Like, I really, for me personally, label it what you want. The simple label is DEI work, but it really is an acknowledgement of the systematic racism this country is founded upon and profited from. And I think healing those measures is important to the long, healthy life of the United States of America. So I would like that energy to continue and grow.
Yeah, and I think it'd be debatable whether Harvard was actually doing that a significant thing with that. I'd like to believe it about that institution. One would hope that that's where they were headed. And, you know, honestly, I think because a certain portion of our culture gets triggered by the words DEI, I think we can just stop calling it that, but still do it. And then we can just have it be a thing where, you know, people that look like us do our best to create opportunities and reparations and, you know, stepping into spaces that are BIPOC spaces and learning to be quiet and listen. And then helping marginalized people step forward and have, you know, a long overdue piece of the pie. And I don't think that's at odds with meritocracy. Like a lot of the arguments against DEI is this idea that we're supposed to somehow be a meritocracy. And it's so fallacious because so many of the white elite men that get all these advantages, it's that, yeah, the cover of it is meritocracy when you look at their Harvard degrees. Ha ha ha, call back there. But it's more than that. It's the old boys network and that sort of thing. And so merit, in the way that a lot of the critics of DEI talk about, it's a fallacy. It's not really merit at all. It's just another form of affirmative action for their family or their constituency. But, you know, we got a lot of issues, you know, and I like free enterprise. I don't like corporate capitalism. I don't like communism. I don't really think that's the answer. And I'm sick of war. Like, we can figure this out, people. Like, you know, like, first of all, like Mark Wendt, this is an editorial. This may not reflect the views of Moped Outlaws as an organization, but I think, you know, once a term, like maybe right before Inauguration Day, everybody in Congress should have to like do an ayahuasca journey together and go hang out in Bohemian Grove and talk to the redwoods and listen to Mother Nature.
Proof that Bohemian Grove and drugs is not a solution to freedom. And
well, it's the wrong drugs, I think.
I don't know. I've heard that. I don't know.
We want to be careful because we don't want our new sponsors to knock on the door.
Right. The 3:33 a.m. call.
All right. Well, we love you all. Hopefully we'll be here next week. And as they say, subscribe, share, donate to Blast, Compton Cowboys, and Greg.
Drink Adrenochrome Cola.
Adrenochrome Cola, the elite refreshment. Introducing Adrenochrome Cola, the exclusive refreshment for the discerning elite. A tantalizing taste shrouded in mystery, now within your grasp. Crafted for those who walk in the shadows of power, Adrenochrome Cola invigorates your senses, offering a sip of the extraordinary. A drink not just for any occasion, but for the occasion. Dare to indulge in the beverage of the Illuminati. Unleash the elite within you. Adrenochrome Cola, because why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Adrenochrome Cola. Refreshingly elite.
Recording stopped.